Hello guys, welcome to a new video of the first World Chess Championship of 1886. It's Wilhelm Steinitz against Johannes Zukertort, and today we're looking at game number 6. So, till now it's been very one-sided. Zukertort won a lot of games, and Steinitz now has the white pieces, and he really wants to win this game. He starts the game with e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, and bishop to b5, the Spanish opening, knight to f6, the Berlin defense, castles, and knight takes e4. Now either d4 or rook to e1, rook to e1 by Steinitz, knight back to d6, and knight takes e5, winning back the pawn. And I actually have a funny story here. When I was playing for my chess club a competition on board number 1, my teammate on board number 2 had this exact position, and his opponent played knight takes b5. But that's a huge mistake, and it actually loses in one move, because now we have knight takes c6 check. We're checking with the rook, and we're also winning the queen. And that's actually the moment his opponent resigned, and it was just a big shock for both of us. I couldn't believe it, but that's why never take the bishop here. Main line goes knight takes e5, rook takes e5 check, bishop to e7. And here you can play the bishop back to f1, but Steinitz is down in the match. He wants to play more active, knight to c3. Here you can't take the bishop, because then we do not take your knight back. We actually play knight to d5, attacking the bishop twice. c6, knight takes, with a discovered attack on the king, so king to f8. Now d4, d6, rook back to e1, and bishop to e6. And it looks like the knight is trapped here, but we have bishop to g5, discovered attack on the queen. You cannot defend it, then your bishop is lost. So something like queen to d7, but now d5. Pawn takes and knight takes, and the knight is safe again. So that's why here you cannot take the bishop either. Zukertort simply castles, and here bishop to d3. Already looking towards the king side. Bishop to f6 and rook to e3. Not bringing it all the way back, since maybe we want to play rook to h3 and put a lot of pressure on your king side. So now we have g6, but g6 is already a huge concession. I mean, you are weakening your dark squares very early on, and Steinitz is going to take advantage of this. Now he plays b3, wants to bring his bishop on the long diagonal. Rook to e8, queen to f3, and bishop to g5, attacking the rook. Rook takes, and here you have to take with the knight, which Zukertort played, since if you take with the queen, we would play bishop to b2, and it's really hard for you to activate your pieces. I mean, if you try to bring your queen in, we have knight a4 defending the bishop, and look at how amazing this bishop looks. So that's why Zukertort takes with the knight. And after knight takes e8, we have bishop to b2 anyway. c6 wants to prepare d5. And now knight to e4. The bishop just got activated, or knight is looking towards the dark squares, or king is looking towards the dark squares here. A beautiful position. Zukertort obviously wants to keep his dark squared bishop to defend those critical squares. Bishop to e7, queen to e3, and d5. Attacking the knight, a nice intermediate move, threatening checkmate. You cannot defend it with the knight, then we have knight takes, bishop takes, queen takes, and you just lose a piece. So here you have to play f6, but it really damages your king side. Now knight to g3, bishop to e6, and the last piece rook to e1. And just have a look at white's pieces. All the pieces here are looking towards the king side. The knight can jump in later on. The rook is very active here on the e file. Beautiful position. So after rook to e1, knight goes to g7. And since all the pieces are already placed very nicely here, we have to break this pawn structure somehow. Well, how do we do it? With h4, the best move. Now queen to d7, making way for our rook to come. h5. Bishop goes back to f7, pawn takes and bishop takes. Now the bishops are looking towards each other. And here the best move is actually c4, since you cannot take, your queen is hanging. But here, Steinitz played queen to e3, wanting to get in here maybe later on, but also we are attacking this bishop twice. King to f7. Well, why would you not play rook to e8, defend it like this? Since then we have bishop takes, attacking the rook, you have to take back with the pawn, and now we win your a7 pawn. So that's why you have king to f7. And now queen to f4, slowly bringing your queen closer to the king side. After queen to f4, rook to e8. Or rook is unguarded here, so rook to e3. Maybe later on wanting to bring the rook in like this. And here Zukertort makes a huge mistake. Well, actually in this position he just has to wait. Something like bishop d8, exchange the rooks. But here he plays knight to e6, attacking the queen. Why is that a bad move? Well, the knight here was a crucial defender together with the bishop and the queen of the f5 square, which was attacked 3 times by white. Since you played knight to e6, queen to g4, best move, pinning your knight to the queen. Knight goes back to f8, defending our queen and wanting to exchange, but now our knight jumps in. Had the knight stayed on g7, the knight couldn't jump in here. And after knight to f5, bishop to c5, attacking our rook, we give a check. King to g7, check again, king to f7, check again, and we actually see the position repeating a couple times. And I would assume that during that time there was no draw by repetition, since they repeated this position a lot of times. And perhaps Steinitz couldn't find the best move. Knight h6, check again, king to g7. And here he finally plays another move. I would say try to pause the video here and find the best move for white. So Steinitz here played the most practical move, which is bishop takes g6. And after queen takes, knight takes, rook takes, pawn takes, and king takes, we see a lot of exchanges on the board. It is a fine move, but actually here, the better move is queen to h4. Since after queen to h4, we are attacking this pawn twice. You have to defend it with rook to e6. Now the knight comes back, attacking it 3 times, and also threatening coming in here. So that would be the best continuation. But okay, we see a lot of exchanges, and at the end we win an extra pawn. Knight takes f6. Now Steinitz is up a pawn and he wants to win this endgame. In this position, perhaps the best move for Zukertort is bringing the bishop back. Knight goes back, now h5, knight goes back again, and slowly march your king forward. But here he went pawn hunting, but we can simply play d3. Now knight to e6, king to f2, h5, and g4. And this is a critical position. Here Zukertort had to play pawn takes, since after knight takes, the black king enters. But he played h4. And that's another huge mistake, since after h4, the knight goes to h5. And look at those squares, they're all defended. It's very hard for the black king to enter the game now. The bishop tries to go back to d6, attack those dark squares, and escort the pawn, but simply king to g2. Now c5, bishop to f6, knight to g5, bishop takes, king takes, and king to h3. And if you look at this position, Steinitz is up a pawn, and almost all his pawns are on light squares, and black has a dark squared bishop, so he cannot even attack those pawns. Bishop goes to e5, knight to f4. Here you shouldn't take the bishop, since it looks like you win a pawn, but we win your pawn, and we're going to make a queen here. That's why we see d4 here. Knight gives a check, and here a really nice move, e takes d4. Since still you cannot take the knight, we win this bishop, king takes, and again the same position. So here pawn takes and the knight goes to c5 and the knight is safe. Now it can come to e4, it can win this pawn, and there's basically nothing Zukertort can do. And in this position, he attacks the bishop. The bishop has to defend those pawns, but if you try to go to c5, simply b4, bishop to a7, b5 will come, b6 will come. There's nothing you can do. Here even Zukertort tries to make a passer and a queen, but there's nothing you can do after d2. Knight comes to c3, king to e3, a6, king to d3 perhaps, knight to d1, king to e2, and knight to b2. And now your king cannot even enter and attack the knight. And we just wait till you make a queen and we sacrifice the knight. This was a beautiful game by Steinitz. Finally he has another win on the board and he tries to make a comeback. I hope you liked this video. If so, please like, subscribe or comment, and I'll see you on the next match. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.